Welcome to the Franchise Woman Podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zorkel Profiles, along with my co-host, community advocate, speaker, author, and entrepreneur, Tracy Kawa. So our special guest today, I'm so excited, is Cordell Riley. Cordell is a senior level executive with extensive background in business, both corporately as well as a business owner. For 14 years, he was part of the prestigious executive team at Driven Brands. He's the founder of Total Training, a full service training and development firm. And he's also a franchise advisor and adjunct instructor at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. Currently, he's the COO of BIGGBY Coffee. BIGGBY Coffee believes that owning a coffee shop has a higher calling. Welcome to the show, Cordell.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Tracy. Delighted to be here with both of you.
Yeah, that was interesting. So BIGGBY Coffee has a higher calling. I'd love to hear more about that and how you joined the team.
Wow. Well, Tracy, I'd love to tell you about that. BIGGBY, look, I've been in franchising in some shape, form, or fashion since 93. When I say that number, that scares me a lot, but nonetheless, it's a true number. But in franchising since 93. BIGGBY is one of those hidden gems. I discovered it at a franchise conference in 2019, I believe. I was speaking somewhere and a couple of their team leaders were there and they liked my message and they introduced me and said, Cordell, you might be a good speaker for our upcoming conference. That was going to be in 2020. It was going to be live, but I probably don't need to take you back in too much memory, but it did not happen live. But we delivered a message in a virtual format. My format that I speak from is Success Leaves Clues, what a successful franchisees do. So that's kind of the platform. But as I started to uncover and study this company, getting ready for it, I was just blown away. It's a great franchise system, and it checks all the metrics from unit level economics, systems, support, all of those great things. But BIGGBY is a purpose-driven company. BIGGBY Coffee is a purpose-driven company, and it's not words that we say lightly. Our purpose is to support people in building a life that they love. Mm-hmm. Our purpose is to support people in building a life that they love, not the life that I think you should live, Tracy, or the life that I think you should live, Rebecca. It's the life, supporting them and building a life that they love. Our vision is to improve workplace culture in America. I mean, you look at workplaces right now, it's just so much stress, so much negativity in those environments. And we know that we can have an impact on that by delivering upon our purpose. So when I was studying this organization and preparing for the keynote, and I understood this purpose, and I was at this point in my career where I was really considering joining another franchise system. And I had heard something earlier that particular year, which again was 2019, came from President Obama, that says the way to discover true self is to hitch your wagon to something bigger than yourself. The way to discover true self is to hitch your wagon to something bigger than yourself. So I'm studying BIGGBY, all the great things they do as a franchisor. Then I hear about this purpose component of supporting people and building a life that they love. And I said, I don't know if there's anything bigger than supporting people and building a life that they love. Delivered the keynote, started talking to the co-CEOs after, and it made sense for me to join the organization. And I officially joined the following July of 2021. And it's been a great run since I've been here.
Great.
I love that story. I oftentimes think I was born and raised in Switzerland, Cordell, and we're all about team and togetherness and community and, thinking of the others. And what I have found the culture in the US is we're very independent. We're entrepreneurial. We're competitive. We like our own identity. We have personal branding. We have all of these sort of things. So this idea of hitching your wagon to something bigger resonates with me. So my question is, how do you get people to capture that vision that are independently minded, possibly? How do you get them to capture that vision and say, this is bigger, this is better, I want to be part of this?
Yeah. Well, it's like so many things, Rebecca. It's a journey. I mean, it's a journey. We are very deliberate about the work is the thing that I would say. And we are studying other purpose-driven companies. I'm a big believer that many times people that have come before you in something and done it successfully, you should go out and study what they've done around certain things and are the things that you can learn and that you can put into your particular processes. So this is something that we are on this journey. Do we have it completely figured out and perfected? We absolutely don't. We're striving towards this, but we're very deliberate about it. So when I say that we're deliberate about it, it's part of our vision statement that we talk about internally inside of our corporate office as we're talking to our teammates. It's something that we talk with our franchisees about when we have our meetings with them. We talk about being a purpose-driven company. We talk about supporting them and building a life that they love. We ask them to share these messages with their teammates as well inside of their respective stores. We have an entire function inside of BIGGBY. It's called our Life Lab group, that we have a chief purpose officer. Think about the number of franchisors that have a chief purpose officer. And again, it's not just about a title. It's not just about having it. That role does very deliberate and very functional work inside the organization. We create workshops that talk about how do you take care of your financial well-being, how do you take care of your physical well-being, how do you take care of your family. We make that available inside of BIGGBY Nation. BIGGBY Nation is all of our franchisees, their team members. They can take part of this just by being a part of the nation, but also we open it up to the world as well. Now, there's a separate structure for people outside of BIGGBY Nation to do it, but we're very deliberate about that. We measure NPS scores of our franchisees, and I know a lot of other franchisors do that as well. But we look to see what can we do to give us a different result that's going to move those scores and numbers and metrics in a lot of different ways. So if I had to say all those words over, we're very deliberate about it. We're working on it. It's still a journey for us, but it truly is what we wake up and think about. And I know a lot of times when franchisors talk about a lot of different things, sales, unit level economics, supply chain, those are all things that we talk about as well, in addition to. And it's not a separate, and this is a piece that we're working on as well. How do we make all of these things just really come together? Being a purpose-driven company, driving great franchisor results, and how do all of those come together to really achieve the mission and vision that we're focused on?
Wow, that was a mouthful. That's
It was a mouthful.
process. I love that. So, what caught my attention was the fact that you have BIGGBY Nation, which is there to train and educate holistically all of the franchisees, but then you also open it up to the public. Is that what I'm to understand?
You understood that correct, Tracy.
How did that come about? Like, hey, let's educate the public. How does something like that come about? I love the concept of it, but I'm curious about the origination of it.
Yeah, well, it originated before I got here, Tracy. So I've been here for 2 years now, and it was in place when I got here. So I would be speculating if I gave you an answer about how, but I will just speculate a little bit. I mean, we want to really support people in building a life that they love. And it's not just about people just in BIGGBY Nation. Certainly we want to take care of our house, but we want to extend who we are and what we're about as much as we can. Again, our goal is to improve workplace culture in America. Okay. Our vision, let me say it the right way. Our vision is to improve workplace culture in America. And America is very expansive. And we want to make sure that anything that we can do to impact that, we're making those options and opportunities available.
That's impressive.
Mm-hmm. It really is. So there's a theme here that I have observed in your life, and even as you talk now, that is purpose-driven consistently, but shows up in the form of education, in the form of training. So were you born a teacher? Were you born a trainer? How did that come about? Because I've seen you speak a couple of times. You are gifted. You are gifted and you draw people in. So is this something you developed? Were you born this way? Was it God-given? Tell us more about the word training in your life.
Wow. Well, first of all, let me say thank you, Rebecca. I don't take that lightly from receiving that from you. That means a lot. So thank you. So let me just start there. Great to hear. So thank you. Uh, well, look, I believe that we're all born with certain God-given talents. It's up to us to kind of understand those, perfect them. Let me back up, understand them, and then hone the craft and kind of go out and study and all of those things. I can go back to, Easter Sundays at Cedar Grove Missionary Baptist Church in Mississippi, where mom and dad made sure that I was going to be doing an Easter recital. You too? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was forced to do an Easter recital, and I studied it, and I did that. And I go back to fast forward from there to college in Mississippi State, where I went to school at, and in my economics, actually it was my marketing class, we had to deliver talks and sessions. I remember my professor just saying, Cordell, you're so great and good at delivering a message, pulling people in, conveying messages, and all of those things. And those opportunities just continue to be out there. And I will say, so started franchising in 93. I stumbled into franchising in 93. Then fast forward to 99, I was given the opportunity to lead training inside of a franchise system. And I did not study education or training in school. I studied business. But once I was given that opportunity, I went out and read all the books that I could read about it. I went out and went to workshops that I could attend on it. I joined other associations that could help me perfect that training skill. And it's just something I've continued to invest in and put time and effort behind. Let me connect the dot a little bit with franchising. Look, when I think about franchising and I think about franchisors, I think there are really three key roles that a franchisor has. One is they're the visionary.
Mhm.
This is who we are. This is what we're about. This is what the consumers want. This is where the market is going. This is what we're about. So the vision. Number two, I think they're a great marketing organization,
Mhm.
marketing to the end user consumers that are going to buy whatever the product is or the service. Also marketing to prospective franchisees to join the system. So marketing. Number three is training. I think they have to be a strong training organization as well. If you think about this, franchising is about a system. This is how we do it here. This is how we greet the guests. This is how we make the product. This is how we do whatever it is. It's the system. People are investing in that system. And the way that you can help them be successful is to make sure they can implement that system. And you do that by having a very, very strong training program inside of your system. So training is paramount, so important inside of franchising. It is what helps franchisees, gives them a greater likelihood for success. If they can successfully implement that system, again, it's going to increase their ability to be successful or their likelihood of being successful. And the way you do that is by having a very, very effective training program. I felt like I meandered a lot, Rebecca. You just gave me a great
Not at
compliment about being
all. We're
great with words, and I
following.
meandered. Okay.
We're
Good.
I
following.
think that was great. You know what? You clearly have a passion for training that is undeniable. Um, I'm listening to you. I'm listening to your command of the English language. I'd like to hear about a little more about how you're such a wordsmith. Like, where did that come from? That's a gift in and of itself.
Wow. Thank you, Tracy. You guys, I need to, can I do this? Can we
Oh,
do this
no.
daily?
Hang with us, Cordell. Hang with us.
Can we do this daily? Wow. So I'm a little hoarse, I'm a little raspy now, but I hope I'm coming across pretty good. I'm from Mississippi, and if you heard people from the South speak many times, you typically hear the Southern accent. Maybe you get some of it from me or not, but I think words are really, really powerful, really, really impactful. And I've studied many of the great speakers that are out there, President Obama, Dr. King, Kennedy. We can keep going on and on and on. Just so many great speakers out there. And when you think about the power of words, there have been movements, whether they've been positive movements or whether they've been negative movements, that came about because of the words. Somebody got on his or her soapbox and they shared words, and that inspired some type of movement, for the good or the bad. You can pick whichever one you want. I've studied those. I read about those. And I'll share this, Tracy. One of the little things that I love to do is I'm reading something. I actually keep a word journal. And a word journal is something that I just started to do. Actually, I started this pre-COVID. And I really accelerated it during COVID because I was reading a lot more. And if there's a word that strikes my fancy and I think it can help make a point, I think it can really call attention to, because if you use certain words, that gets attention and puts emphasis on certain things. And I just journal those words down because I really also believe too that there is great power. I know a lot of people take notes and put things in their phones and all of those things, which is fine if that works for you. But I'm a big believer that getting things from here to here and getting it on paper helps with retention. So it's a little word journal that I just scribe things down that resonate with me. And I love doing it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The thing that I was envisioning as you were talking about taking words, studying them, and then effectively using them was I saw like this amalgamation of purpose combined with words. It's explosive when you think about it. It's life-changing when you think about it, right? You know, this idea that we can change things with a word, that we can bring something into existence by our word, combined with this bigger purpose that you were talking about a little bit. That's the picture I got. Do I have a good picture here?
You have a great picture, and I hope, well, I'll give an example. I hope it's received in the spirit that I intend for it to be received. If you look at Dr. King over here on this side, and you look at Hitler over here on this side, they use words from different platforms, and you can just think about the outcomes that happen. I don't want to demean anybody. They've certainly did a lot more than words, but when you really look, they spoke, they used words, they conveyed what they were focused on at that particular time. And those inspired movements, those inspired things to take place, and two extremes. But yeah, words and the intent, the purpose behind them, powerful.
That was a perfect example because both individuals were using the same medium. They were using the same vehicle, and the vehicle is words.
Thank you,
You
Tracy.
can inspire for positive or you can inspire for negative.
Yeah.
And I think that's really about, like compassion and being non-complacent. Like, how do you want to use your words? And also, like, how do you want to use your time? And that's what you're really driving to, is like the combination of training and getting awareness out there and using their time to like motivate and inspire people to make their lives better through franchise, right?
Yeah. And thank you, Tracy. Thank you for picking up on the example. I was struggling a little bit about to use it or not because I don't want to strike an accord that's not received, but thank you for your confirmation of it. Look, I'll give you another sound bite here as well that kind of goes along this journey. And this is something that I really, really believe in, and it's kind of core to how I think about things. So the sound bite is your level of success will rarely exceed your level of personal development. Your level of success will rarely exceed your level of personal development. So honing the craft, whatever that craft is, going back and reading, studying, taking in things, if it's speaking, if it's franchise, and if it's whatever it is, how are you developing yourself around that? Your level of success will rarely exceed your level of personal development in whatever that's going to be.
That's a powerful statement and one I agree with completely. As you were sharing, I'm thinking, what happens to those individuals who don't take the time to develop themselves? I can see a plateau that they will hit and an inability to reach their full potential because they haven't invested in themselves. But also those that have, and this is me making a leap, so correct me if I'm wrong, Cordell, those that have, I would think also would rise to leadership roles, right? So it sounds like part of becoming a good leader is this personal development that we need to do first before we are responsible for others to be true leaders. Is that something you agree with? And if so, can you expound on that
Yeah,
or take
I
me another
fully,
direction?
no, I fully agree with it, Rebecca. It's before, it's during, and it's ongoing. So that's probably the piece I'll put into it. Maybe you don't start out as a leader. Maybe you grow into a leader. Maybe you ultimately become a leader. Look, I do think there are places for a lot of different people. If you're not a leader, that's okay.
Right.
There are managers that are needed as well. You need leaders, you need managers, you need a lot of different roles and responsibilities. But the one thing I will call out, though, is that if you are a leader and tie this together, how are you still developing your leadership skills? How are you still understanding more about what great leaders are doing? What are you reading? What are you listening to? Are you studying the great leaders, the people that you think are great leaders, and what gems can you pick up from there? I will share another thing that we're doing inside of BIGGBY as well. Is we recently rolled out a BIGGBY leadership training series that internally inside of our office, we are investing time, effort, and talent to build training for our leadership team so that we can train our leaders how to be great leaders. One of the tragedies that I see happen in so many organizations is somebody is great at whatever it is. You're a great salesperson, I'm going to make you the sales manager. You're a great widget maker, I'm going to make you the chief widget maker, whatever it might be. And that person was great at doing that task, but he or him did not, she, him, her, whatever the right, yeah, I'm sorry here,
We're
getting my
with you.
words mixed up. Thank you,
Yeah,
thank you. They've not perfected that particular skill. So we've saw that as a void, and we actually have built training, again, that we're rolling out inside BIGGBY. We're doing it with our senior leadership team, and we're going to cascade this throughout the organization to our other leaders inside of BIGGBY Coffee.
that's very cool.
Yeah.
So I have one question that's kind of been sitting in the back of my mind. Like, what does a chief purpose officer do?
Well, maybe my friend Laura Ike will see this. She's the chief purpose officer inside of BIGGBY Coffee. And it's somebody that makes sure that we're deliberately focused on fulfilling our vision of improving workplace culture in America, but also make sure that we're living out our purpose of supporting people and building a life that they love. Very specifically, there is a group inside of BIGGBY Coffee. We operate inside of spheres instead of departments. Spheres, make sure we got great overlap, that people are working together, try to break down some of those silos. There's a sphere called Life Lab. That particular group is very deliberate about helping us carry out this work in a very meaningful way. We have workshops that we make available inside of BIGGBY Nation, workshops about your financial awareness, about your personal vitality that we make available to all of BIGGBY Nation being our franchisees, their managers, their team members. They can partake in those workshops as just part of being a part of BIGGBY Nation. We also make those available to the public as well. It's under a different model, but they can do that as well. So they do that very deliberately. We have been doing barista bashes. Barista bashes are where we go out into our stores, into the areas, and we just celebrate baristas. Baristas are the front line of our stores. Now, keep in mind, they are the employees of our franchisees, but they are the front lines of our stores. So when somebody goes in, how are they greeted? How are they taken care of? How does their product turn out for them? And we just wanted to show some love to our baristas, and they're just parties. We're doing tie-dyes. We're making balloons. We're just doing things to bring fun and love and energy to our baristas, to our community. So I'm giving you some examples, but hopefully those are some of the things that kind of resonate with you of what a chief purpose officer does. But make sure that we're laser focused on making sure that these are not just words that are on a slogan or on a piece of paper, that we're very deliberate about putting action to it.
And this in large part describes your culture and your purpose, and culture being not just our values that we run our organization by, but the environment we create for those that are working within it and the best practices. And it sounds like this too with BIGGBY is deliberate, right? To create this environment that expresses our purpose by honoring those that are front line and an expression of that, right? So this is a great example for those listening in and working on your own culture, that how this purpose and begins to develop a culture deliberately when you consider it. So I'm hoping people are getting that. I want to shift gears.
Rebecca, can I add one thing to
Of
that?
course,
Yeah, I think
I'm
it's just
sorry.
great. We are, if you're not authentic about this, don't play with it. It shows up if it's not who you are and it's not part of your authentic culture that you really want to do it. It will show up.
Wow.
And you might be able to fool some people, and you might be able to sell a few more cups of this or a few widgets of that by having something on a cup and things of that nature. But that's not sustainable for the long term, and that won't get you where you really need to be. It needs to be authentically who you are, what your culture is about, what your leadership team believes in, and how you cascade that throughout the organization. And again, we're not perfect at this right now, but we know where we want to get to, and we're working towards it. But it needs to be authentically who you are.
Great point.
One of my favorite words, alongside bodacious. That's my number one word, but authentic probably number two.
Yeah.
I want to shift gears a little bit. Offline, when we were chatting, the three of us, you talked about this thing called relationship capital. I love that concept. I'm wondering if you could share with us, A, what it means, and B, how we create more of it, more relationship capital.
Yeah. I think of franchising as a contact sport. What does that mean? Look, at the end of the day, there's franchise agreements in place. There are FDDs that people get to see before they ultimately join a franchise. So there is a system in place. There's black and white legal agreements that are in place, and very, very important. You got to have those, and they have to be really, really solid and intact. Full respect for all of that. But at the end of the day, when you really cut all of those things back, I really do believe that there's something called relationships that are truly at play that are very, very important. Relationships, what are the franchisee relationships? So my first conversation with BIGGBY about joining them was with our co-CEO, Mike McFall. They're talking about some things that they had going on and some things that I was thinking about. And once we had several conversations, I said, Mike, what do you want to have happen with this particular role? And we didn't talk about operational aspects. We didn't talk about those things. Cordell, I want to have our franchisees love us.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have our franchisees love us. And that is still what I talk about today, 2 years in. How do we help our franchisees to love us? And the way you do that, an opinion of one, is by genuinely caring about the people. Why did somebody choose to become a franchisee first and foremost? Why did they choose BIGGBY? Is it for a family legacy that they're building? Is it their corporate exit strategy? What's their personal goals and objectives? What are they trying to do? Genuinely caring about that. And that starts by genuinely caring about the person and working on the relationship aspect of it. At the end of the day, I talked about this early on when I first started it. There are contracts in place, franchise agreements that says, here's what the franchisor is going to do. Here's what the franchisee is going to do. Suppliers are part of this equation as well. But as you need to have conversations, as you need to talk about changes in the system, as you need to talk about things that this franchisee may need to do differently, better, improve, as a franchisee needs to bring things to the corporate office. I'm a big believer that it's not just one way. Great franchisors are ones that listen to their franchisees, understand things that are taking place in the store, and figure out how those things go into the system. So as those things need to be brought to the franchisor, I think what makes all of those conversations fluid, flexible, that you can have tough conversations, you can have conversations that need to be had, but the amount of relationship capital that you have, that you've built up over time by caring about the people, by visiting them, by being open, by truly listening to what's out there, builds more relationship capital and allows you to have more productive, effective discussions and working relationships throughout the time you're together.
It sounds like relationship capital goes hand in hand with trust.
Yeah, it does, Tracy. It does. And how do you earn trust? I'll use those words. How do you earn it? It's by the things that you do, by the actions that you take, by how you follow up with people, about you. Do you do what you say you're going to do? Do you do it within the time that you say you're going to do it? Goes hand in hand with trust. You're spot on.
Yeah. I like that word, trust, because it's so easy to violate it accidentally by, as you're building social capital, relationship capital, not following it through, not making that call when you said you did, or delivering what you agreed to deliver. And it does, Tracy pointed out, break that trust and potentially take away from that bank of relationship capital you had. Now you got to rebuild it again.
Which is harder to do. Not saying it's impossible to do, but rebuilding trust is certainly a lot of work. Can be done, but certainly tough thing to do.
Yeah. I think trust is the most fragile of all emotions. Once broken, very difficult to put together. So this, again, the word keeps coming up for me, deliberate, a focus on relationship, on purpose, on empowering others, where we don't let people down, but instead build them up, right?
Yeah.
Build them up.
Rebecca, I think and I like the way you summed that up, because none of these are things most people have probably heard in some shape, form, or fashion. But the thing I'll call back to is, are you authentic about it? Are you deliberate about it? Do you have it in your mind as a leader that I want to work on relationship capital? Okay, I don't even know what relationship capital means. That's okay. But if you go out and study it, you see it's important, and you say, this is the right thing for me and my organization. If you have it in your mind that you want to do it, that's where it starts. If you think about it, I want to do this, I want to get better at this, you'll figure out the way. You'll figure out the resources. They're out there. But you got to have it in your mind that this is what I want to do.
I'm just amazed that Rebecca called trust an emotion. Like, I never thought of trust as being an emotion, but I guess it really is, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's the most fragile of all. So we have to be conscious of our interactions, and as you pointed out, being authentic, being reliable, fulfilling agreements, especially when we're talking a franchisor franchisee relationship. And as Cordell pointed out, these franchisees are making a big commitment, right? A big commitment. This is their future identity. This is their future in general. This is a legacy that they're going to leave. And to have that authentic, trustworthy relationship with their franchisor that says, I see where you're going. I'm going to give you the tools to get there, from training to leadership to marketing, to the bigger purpose that we can, hook ourselves to that wagon. This is what the franchisor's responsibility is, and those who do it well, as BIGGBY has, will continue to grow and have very happy franchisees. So what a beautiful, beautiful story. So Cordell, kind of winging it here a little bit. What's next? Are you going to run for office? Are you going to be a politician? What's next for you? What's your future?
Oh my goodness. Wow. Don't scare me, Rebecca, with questions like that. That's super scary. That is super,
jump.
super scary. Yeah.
It was a jump. Hey, he's got all
Yeah.
the qualifications in my mind.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, look, I am super happy with what I'm doing right now. I'm fulfilled in so many different ways. My personal life is just humming. I have a great life partner, Donna. We just celebrated 27 years this past July the 6th. My first child was born 2 years to the exact date later. So our son just turned 25, and my anniversary with BIGGBY was on July the 6th as well. So a lot of great things that just happened there. So I'm having tons of fun. Personally, I got a daughter that's getting ready to start med school here in a little bit. So we got some great things going on there. Professionally, I am so fulfilled with BIGGBY, and we're just scratching the surface right now. I mean, we're in second gear all the way, getting ready to head to fifth gear very, very fast. So we're just scratching the surface on so many great things that we're doing with our franchisees, with what they're doing with their business, with our corporate team that's still forming and bringing in some great talent. So we got some great things on the horizon as we continue to work towards our purpose. I also get the opportunity to give some of this back. I'm also, as you mentioned, an adjunct with the University of Tennessee, and we actually have some great franchise education that we're bringing to juniors and seniors and the undergrad level that are understanding about business and entrepreneurship, and we get to talk with them about franchising. That's a lot of fun. We're also doing that at the executive level for people that may be transitioning from the military or the police force, and they're thinking about franchising. So get to do some give backs that way. So continue to be grateful for the opportunities that I'm afforded, continue to not take those lightly, and continue to invest in self and in the gifts that I've been given, about how I use those for good to keep being the great person that I want to be, the great father that I want to be, the great business professional that I want to be. So just keep staying on the journey and keep living life every single day.
Beautiful. Cordell, thank you for joining us today and sharing your heart and your vision and the vision of BIGGBY and how you guys are bringing that to fruition with every single franchisee. So thank you for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Tracy and Rebecca. It was a lot of fun.
And Tracy, I'm going to punt it over to you. Your final thoughts.
This is a tough wrap up, because I think Cordell just said everything in that last summation there. But I just want to say that you really inspire me. And I'm really happy for you for all the great things that you have going on in your life. And I think that's a direct reflection of you being a great steward of all of this training responsibility and this continued learning, both in your company at all the different levels and outside of your company. So being a good steward of the community and of information and making sure that everybody gets educated in the right way, the right direction, is just, I guess, revealing itself through all of the, what we would call the nachas and joy that's going on in your life right now. So congratulations. And I really look forward to having you on the show again.
Thank you. Thank you. Look forward to joining you again.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you to the rest of you listening in to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. Now go out and create some relationship capital for yourself. Share this video, this podcast with Cordell Riley, with others, and we'll see you next week on another episode.